So again, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good to see you all here. It's time for us to start our study today. So let's just say a quick prayer, thanking the benefactors for allowing us to be here, for the teachings that we receive, and for the inspiration they provide us when we do our studying and try to understand about the reality of the physical world, but more importantly, the reality of the spirit world. So with our gratitude in our hearts, we ask them permission to start our study today. So be it.
Amen.
So last week, we stopped. Let me just share my screen with you. Can you see it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
36.
Yeah, so we are studying these questions about evocation. And last week, with chance, we did up to 25. So today we start with number 26. Again, I encourage everyone to ask questions if they have questions. And, it is a study. It's not a lecture. So, it is important that, you people participate, bring your questions, and we'll try to answer them if possible. Okay, 26. Is evocation in the name of God any guarantee against the interference of evil spirits? God's name does not put all perverse spirits in check, but it restrains many of them. It is the mean for you to keep many away. And it is even more effective. It's pronounced from the bottom of the heart and not as a banal formula. We've seen that, it is advised, at least at Kardec's time, to start any evocation saying in the name of God. We call so-and-so in the name of God. And that's, the Spirit's answer here. God's name may affect some, but not all evil spirits with, evil intentions. So what's really important is actually to do the evocation with the serious intentions. We know that the spirits perceive whatever intentions we have, our thoughts are in a vibration, so they know the purpose of invocation. So it can be, for any reason. So when we say in the name of God, that means we establish a certain pattern where we show that we intend to do serious work. And it works for some, not for all spirits with not so good intentions. Can we evoke several spirits at the same time by name? This presents no difficulty. If there are 3 or 4 hands to write with, 3 or 4 spirits will respond at the same time. This happens when we have several mediums available. So basically, here is the situation that we normally have in a mediumship group. Because it's a group, we suppose that there are many people working in the group who are mediums, and also those who are ready to, establish a dialogue with the spirit. And it's been said here, 4 hands to write with. Because in this case, you can have several communications at the same time without, disturbing the meeting, because the mediums are writing, receiving messages. That is very common in mediumship groups today, nowadays. So we see that, perhaps we don't appreciate that much the question, because we know that mediums can receive simultaneously messages from different spirits, and write. But when it comes to dialogue, to talking to the spirits, then it's different because of, the noise it makes, the disturbance it may create. Imagine if we have 4 or 5 mediums all working at the same time in receiving a spoken communication, it becomes impossible to work in this environment or to understand, with great care each one of them. But when it comes to writing, yes. So basically, this is a situation that is common nowadays for us to have, as I said before, many mediums working at the same time, especially if it's through a written communication. When several spirits are evoked at once, with only one medium present, which one responds? One of them will respond for all, and we will express the collective thoughts. So we see that in this case to answer, evoke many spirits and have just one medium available to give a communication. A spirit may respond for the group. And just bear in mind here that nowadays, although the questions here are about evocation, we don't do evocation nowadays. Mostly, we get ready for the work and then we receive the spirits according to the type of work that we are doing. If we are doing rescue work, if we are helping them, or if we are receiving messages for instruction and so on, at least the groups I've taken part in, we don't normally do evocation direct, call for a certain spirit to come and communicate. Basically, we start the work and the spirits will come according to what has been organized by the benefactors for that particular medium. But having said that, the situation is the same. If it's written communication, there are many mediums. They all can receive at the same time different spirits and receive the communication. If we have just one medium available, of course, in some situations, one spirit may represent a group, as we've seen many times. Good spirits, spirits who come to bring us some information, comforting word, but also spirits who come suffering. Sometimes they come in groups and one of them is the representative of that group. So the work we do with one, we do with the rest of the group as well. Liz, I saw you.
Yeah, hi there, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, it was can be confusing, like when it was said just mediums doing writing or whatever. Also regarding this just pertaining to, work at spiritist meetings, which is, of the highest caliber, which is good. But I can confirm that the last time that I communicated with my particular medium, 4 spirit relatives of mine came through. And yes, my grandmother did speak on behalf of the others this time, but they all also communicated separately at this, at different times during the same meeting. And in her case, she was the stronger of them at that time because they were all upset about what was happening to me here. But one medium, can receive, as many spirits that wish to come, as possible. There isn't any really a limit.
Yes, there is,
yeah.
We see that every situation is a situation, but what has been said is that, well, what if you have a meeting there, you have one medium to work, there's a large group who will communicate, all of them at the same time. They may communicate, some of them may come and communicate. It's a question of time and the way the meeting has been organized. Nothing prevents 3 spirits to come and give their communication in a row. Why not? But when there's a group, one may come and talk for the whole group. That's what is being said here. And it doesn't mean that it can't happen in a different way, but it's a situation where one will communicate through one medium and represents a whole group. Elsolie?
I I think I thought about it, but I'm not sure about the experience we had in this. Which one? But it's I think is on to another side. It was one beautiful spirit. He was in a medium ship section, but it was a training of mediums, and there came one wonderful, beautiful spirit with various young people, young spirits, and between them my son, and he would talk, and then another. It was the same why they was there, and he said he came, and the message was thank you for help they had, and because it was a reason was that when he disincarnated, I prayed for him all the night with my evangel and listen a little evangel and listen a little and prayed again, so all the night. But I prayed too for all mother that lose son or daughter the same way and in that day. They're interesting because they come. Then young people, young spirits. Why my son? Because he would like to say, but he said immediately. More, I say that, but not only to me. It's all of them here would like to say the same. Thank you for the prayer. Also wonderful. Huh? Everybody there, we all cried because it was wonderful there. And I feel the vibration of my son because it came from mine. I was the only there could speak or could speak. And it was only this wonderful spirit who was benefactor of our home, our home.
Okay.
The only this. So because I remember that so details today, and it was answer this asking 29, 20 of 20.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Asali.
I think you know about myself.
No problem. Thanks for sharing with all of us. We should remember that if we want to, engage into a serious mediumship group, so it's important that you have discipline, that you establish rules. What, these answers here are actually to guide us. It doesn't mean that it can't happen differently, but what the situations presented here are, doubts that people have. What if, a group of spirits come, well, maybe one will come and communicate on behalf of the group. But we shouldn't forget that good spirits have no time to waste. No time. And mediumship, the opportunity of the spirits, especially suffering spirits, to give communication through mediumship, in a mediumship meeting, is very, very precious for them. So the benefactors, we make the most of our time. They won't waste our time. They won't waste their time. So there's always a purpose. So if a group with a similar thoughts come and each one, they queue up to give communication. First, of course, there may be some problems, because maybe not all of them will be tuned at the same level with the medium, with the instrument. But Having said that, what's the purpose of, 10, 20 spirits coming and saying the same thing? Just saying, oh, this and this, oh, thank you, or, oh, yes, we are suffering. And if we know they are suffering, they have similar, experiencing similar difficulties and so on. So the benefactors will make the most of our time and their time as well. So, and it doesn't mean that it cannot happen differently. Then we can, but the idea here is to give us some guidance of what is possible, sometimes what is the most common situation, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen differently. Hi, Liz.
Hey, yeah, it also occurred to me on this particular question about, evoking more than one spirit. It also depends on the medium's capabilities, because, my lady's clairvoyant and she can see the spirits and everything. But, you can have a trance medium like we do here, where the spirits actually speak through your body. So that would obviously limit it to one spirit at a time to be able to communicate, even though, you can be aware of other spirits waiting, and whatever. So it is on the medium's capabilities as to how that can happen as well.
Indeed. And we see in meeting with different mediums, we see that some spirits, they'll come and communicate through a particular medium. And why is that? It's because of these, question of
Affinity.
tuning. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the answers here is just to try to give us, the possibilities, but it's not cut and dry. This is it, and it only happens this way and full stop. No, we have to take into consideration many things. Mediumship is not, simple phenomenon. So there are many things involved, but what Kardec is trying to do is actually to answer the common questions or common doubts that we may have when dealing with the mediumship, and especially here with evocations. 29. Can the same spirit communicate at the same time in the same session through two different mediums? This is a very good question. As easily as among you, certain individuals can dictate several letters at once. We have seen a spirit respond to questions at the same time through two mediums, one writing in French and the other in English, both being identical in meaning and sometimes even literal translations of each other. Interesting, isn't it? It can happen. Yes, it can. Will it happen all the time? We don't know. If we are in a serious meeting and the benefactors have no time to waste, they will only do that for a good purpose. Perhaps to give the group confidence, perhaps to help us understand better the phenomenon, mediumship, and to see that this is possible. But I don't think it will happen all the time. It can happen, but it won't happen all the time. The answer is as easily as among you. So how easy it is. For some people, it is easy to dictate, to have simultaneous tasks at the same time. For some other people, no. You have to be one at a time. And we have to take into consideration, what's the purpose of that? Is there any benefit in that? The benefactors, when we work under their guidance and their protection, the benefactors will see if it is fit, if it is good for their group to have that experience, almost like a demonstration of what is possible to do for us to understand better the phenomenon. But is it productive? This is a question that we always have to answer. Is it productive? So Kardec adds here, two spirits evoked simultaneously through two mediums may carry on a conversation. However, they do not require this form of communication, since they can read each other's thoughts. They do it sometimes for our instruction. If they are little evolved spirits who are still imbued with earthly passions, and notions that they held during their corporeal life, they may argue and shout swear words, mutually accusing each other of these wrongs, of their wrongs, and even throwing pencils, baskets, and planchettes at each other. Yeah. So we see that, it is allowed sometimes for our instruction, but, spirits, they don't need the mediums to communicate with, one another. And, when we have, spirits who are little evolved, as Kardec has put it here, it can create a situation that we don't think will be beneficial for anyone. Okay, 30. Can a spirit who is evoked at the same time in several places respond simultaneously to the questions? Yes, if it is a high order spirit. So Kardec is trying to cover all the possible situations. One spirit communicating through different mediums at the same time. One spirit communicating, through mediums, in different places. So they are not at the same, venue, as the same place. We see that, Kardec is mapping the ground, as it were, just to give us an idea what is possible, what is not. And the answer here is yes, but high order spirits. So spirits, they have to be, or to have this ability developed in them, so they can do that. And then comes, another question within the question. In such a case, does the spirit divide itself up, or does it possess a gift of ubiquity, where it can be in many places at the same time? The sun is only one whole, but nevertheless it radiates its light everywhere, projecting its rays far and wide, but without dividing itself. The same applies to spirits. A spirit's thought is like a spark which projects its light afar, and which can be seen from every part of the horizon. The purer the spirit is, the more its thought radiates and scatters like a light. Less evolved spirits are too dense and cannot respond to more than one person at a time. They cannot answer your evocation at all if they have already been called to another place. When called at the same time to two different places, a highly evolved spirit will answer both evocations if they are equally serious and fervent. Otherwise, it will favor the more serious one. So we see that, this is an ability that we develop as a spirit. Evolved spirits, yes, they can communicate in more than one place at the same time, but spirits who are not that evolved, they cannot. They only go, to one place at a time. But also it's important, this final part of the answer here is that good spirits, because only good spirits, or only, evolved spirits can do this. Of course, they'll see this intention of the groups calling him or her, and they will answer, as has been said here, the one that has a serious purpose for doing that. They won't go to a frivolous gathering, meeting, if they don't see, any things serious in that meeting. But they can do, yes, they can do that. And then there's a message here. The same thing happens when someone standing in one spot can transmit his or her thought through signals that are visible in many directions. During one session at the Parisian Society of Spiritist Studies in which the issue of ubiquity was being discussed, a spirit spontaneously dictated the following. This is Kardec bringing an experience from the Parisian society, and the message from the spirit is, you have been discussing the spirit's hierarchy regarding the issue of ubiquity. You may compare us to a balloon that gradually rises into the air. While it is still near the ground, only a small circle of people can see it. But as it rises, the circle grows larger, and when it has reached a certain height, it can be seen by a vast number. The same happens with us. An evil spirit who is still attached to the earth remains within a narrow circle of persons who perceive it. As it ascends and improves itself, it will be able to converse with many people. When it finally becomes a highly evolved spirit, it will radiate like the solar light, being perceived by several persons and in several places at the same time. Channing. So we see that the spirit is basically giving, bringing us some information regarding that. And this message was received, as I said before, the Parisian society regarding ubiquity. So evolve the spirits, yes, they can do that. We can imagine that the higher we put, the beacon of light, the further it reaches. And it's, they use this analogy for us to understand. And we should understand that what we receive, I'll put, us as mediums, we receive from the spirits our thoughts. And they can radiate their thoughts in all directions when they are, evolved the spirits. And this comparison is very nice, the further you ascend, the longer the distance your thoughts will reach. Hi, Anseline.
I think this is wonderful, Channing said, because we spirits, that then was the way, then doctrine, spiritist doctrine was compiled. This was this way. Many mediums all of the world. Kardec asked the same question. They answered the same answer. It was compiled in the book, the Spirit's book. I think it was the first.
Yeah. Yeah, we are still too accustomed to the physical worlds, and we are under the impression that the spirits, to communicate with us, they have to be physically next to us at our sides. But we know that this communication can happen even if the spirit is not physically, in the same little room that we are, that they, radiate their thoughts. But having said that, we also have to take into consideration the level of the spirit, because the spirits who are still too earthbound, too attached to the physical world, they basically do what, we normally do. They have to be very close to us. They give communication, through one medium at a time. But as we evolve, our capabilities, we will expand. Hi, Liz.
Hi. Yeah, I think this same analogy about the balloon, which I think is a lovely one, it really does describe it really, really well. I think this same analogy where, the higher the balloon rises, the more breadth and depth can be received, can apply to prayers as well. And this is how the very highly evolved spirits are able to be aware and answer all the prayers coming up at one time or other. It's like being able to be totally aware of everything all of the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Liz. Okay, number 31. Can pure spirits who have already completed their series of incarnations be evoked? Yes. Yes, but very rarely, because they only communicate with pure and sincere hearts, none who are proud or selfish. Hence, you must distrust low-order spirits who claim to be such spirits in order to seem more important to you. Oh, we had Jesus communicating last week in our mediumship group, so we should doubt that. People who have, communication only from highly evolved pure spirits, and we should be suspicious of that. And as Liz has mentioned also, there's a huge degree between us here working with mediumship and pure spirits, which is, who are spirits at the highest level. So there's tremendous degree. How can we accommodate the sun within us? It's basically impossible. So we see that, these pure spirits who, reach the level where they don't need to incarnate in a world like ours. They don't give communication like that very frequently in many places, because as it's been answered here, we are still full of pride and selfishness, and there is a degree that is too high to come in and simply give a communication, I would say, on an ordinary basis in the groups and through the mediums. We're still full of imperfections to reach that communion level, communion with pure spirits.
Munir,
Yeah,
I can add something. It is.
Hi, Rafael. Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing? This question reminds me. We were in our study group on Tuesdays. We were reading about the Spirit of Truth, and it's very common that whenever talking about the Spirit of Truth or Christ the Consoler, people start to ask about, oh, the Spirit of Truth, they gave the messages in the gospel. Is it Jesus? Is it not Jesus? And I think it comes because it comes from our, even though we study and we reflect and we think, I think we cannot move away from how curious we are about things. I think we are still so attached to the validation, right? Who said Jesus? Who did that? What's the name of the person? Where does it come from? And I think this question here goes back to the same point, which is, in the end, if you think about pure spirits, they would only be interested and engaged in the greater good, the wider benefits for all. And the more they evolve, the less they identify as this or that personality that they had in a specific life, in a specific moment. And even bigger than that, the more they evolve, the more they are working with bigger groups. So it might even be a message from Spirit A or B, but it might be sent or portrayed or described by another spirit, because in the end, it's what matters is the message. I think we always go back to that, right? But even though we know that, sometimes we still cannot overcome our own curiosity and the questions about, oh, what if? Is that the name? Is that the person? Is that other person the name? So this question kind of reminded me of the discussions on Tuesday.
Yeah, because you shouldn't forget that names are just labels, tags that we receive in a particular incarnation to be identified, But we are spirits, immortal spirits. When we die, all the, that personality stays behind. It is an experience for us, yet another day in our, immortality, as it were. And of course, we have to be identified. We get a label, we get the tag. Oh, you are Munir now. For, certain number of years, I'll be Munir, and it's gone. But what is my essence? So it doesn't matter, if my essence is similar to the essence of someone else, I can easily talk on behalf of that person because we think alike, we feel alike, we share the same thoughts, as if, you know, we were part of a group. What one says basically, you know, reflects what all the others would say. So names are nothing. Yeah. And in this case, yeah, why, you know, we would be disappointed if we realize that, no, the message wasn't dictated directly by Jesus, but Jesus inspired someone at a higher level who inspired someone at slightly lower level who came and talked to us. Well, the essence of the message is the same, you know. So, yeah, as Raphael said, we are still too attached to individualities, to names, to personalities, but we shouldn't forget that, you know, how many incarnations have we had, you know? How we would like to be called when we return to spirit, you know, our last incarnation? Perhaps we're still too earthbound to detach ourselves from our personality and then, you know, have a result of all the experiences we've had. Hi, Christine.
Oh, hi, Moni. Could it not be said, and I'm not sure if this is true, but could it not be said that where you've got, because as we know, we're spirits, we're incarnated spirits, and there's disincarnated spirits, but could it not be that there's incarnated spirits who are thinking the same thing and communicating without what's the word? Needing to actually verbalize what they're thinking, but they're having a conversation, if you will, without actually verbalizing it. But they're incarnated, they're not disincarnated.
Yes, questions that will come next will be about communication, yeah, with you know, between, you know, incarnate spirits in a physical body. And yes, thanks for your question. Hi, Liz.
Hi, yeah, you're absolutely right about, you know, not getting hung up on, you know, names. And, you know, in the higher realms, you know, there are so many spirits that have gone before us that are at one with the divine. And it doesn't matter, you know, if they're giving us advice, it's really, really high advice. They're all seeing, all knowing at that point. I think it's better to imagine the spiritual realms and hierarchy and everything as the divine cosmic mind, because you're tapping in and they're tapping with you into that information field to get that information. So a divine cosmic mind, not just one, but no names, because they don't like to be referred to as names anyway. Yeah. at that level.
Indeed. Thanks, Liz. So question number 32. How is it possible for the spirits of the most eminent individuals so easily and familiarly to answer the call of the most obscure persons? Humans judge spirits according to their own standards, which is wrong. Earthly status disappears after corporeal death. The sole standard among spirits is goodness, and those who are good can go anywhere where there is a good deed to perform. I think that this answer adds to what we've been saying. You know, we attach to personality, the name of the person, who that person was here in the physical world, and we expect the person to carry that, you know, the status, the position, the everything with, no, that was one experience that ends, or should end at least, at the graveyard. And then the experience will be taken with the spirit, but the spirit won't remain, you know, for eternity as that personality, so and so. It may have an impact in us. Some of our incarnations may have a greater impact in us than, you know, other incarnations, but in the end of the day, we should be the result of all of them. And as we said before, one particular incarnation or names may not necessarily mean, that we carry on being that very same person in the spirit world. Okay, number 33. How soon after death can a spirit be evolved? This is a good question. Before reading the answer, I just want to mention the book Heaven and Hell. Part second of the book Heaven and Hell is actually composed by messages received through evocation of spirits, some of them even during their funeral. They were evoked and some of them came and answered. But what is interesting to see, and I advise you all to read the book Heaven and Hell, is actually that it very much depends on the situation that the spirit finds himself in the spirit world. Basically, how he finds or she finds himself at the moment of discarnation. So if the spirit is in great balance, in harmony, in peace, that spirit will recover lucidity, will be, in good shape very quickly. But some spirits, they are in such a state of confusion, and because they are tormented by, so many things that they did or didn't, that, they take a bit longer to, fully awake in the spiritual world. So this is a very interesting question. So the answer is, you could evoke it at the very moment of death, but since it may still be in the state of confusion, it will not be able to respond very well. And then Kardec adds, since the duration of the state of confusion varies widely, it is impossible to set a specific time frame for evocation. Nonetheless, it is rare that a spirit after 8 days or so is not sufficiently aware of its state in order to respond. It may even be quite able 2 or 3 days after death, but in any case, one should proceed prudently. And that's what we see, in Heaven and Hell. Some spirits, being in a state of confusion, some spirits being fully aware of their situation at the very moment of their funeral, or soon after that. 34. Is evocation at the moment of death more troublesome for the spirit than it would be later on? Sometimes. It would be like someone making you get up in the middle of sleep before you are completely awake. Nevertheless, there are some who have no problem at all, and evocation may even help them out of the state of confusion. It's a good analogy there. Some people, if you wake them up in the middle of the night, they'll take, long time to actually be fully awake. But some people, they, it seems as if they were already, awake. So it varies. It very much depends. And as I mentioned before in the book, Heaven and Hell, we can see, the different situations or the different conditions of these spirits. Some of them very good spirits, some of them with a guilty conscience, or in a state of unhappiness or whatever. We'll just move up. What's the time? Okay, still have some time. 35. Hi, Liz.
Yeah, I think regarding, the timing of, when you wish to evoke a spirit who's just passed over, I think it's only polite, or the best thing to do is to ask permission, ask your spiritual benefactors or the benefactors of the meeting if it's a-okay to actually ask to speak to a particular spirit, and whether that spirit would like or is able to come. That way, you're not making any mistake.
Yeah, well, good point, Liz. yeah, it's always good to refer to the benefactors and to, you know, our guardian angels actually, and asking their permission, asking their assistance if that is the case. We don't normally do direct, you know, evocation during mediumship group. Basically, we, you know, stay there ready for what the benefactors have prepared for that particular day. But you know, nothing prevents that from doing if it should be the case. "35. How can the spirit of a child who died at a tender age respond consciously if during its corporeal life it hadn't yet arrived at self-awareness?" A child's soul is a spirit still wrapped in the swaddling clothes of matter. When it is free of matter, however, it enjoys its spirit faculties, for spirits have no age, which proves that the spirit of the child has already lived before. Nonetheless, until it has been completely freed from its body, its conversation may still display some childlike characteristics. And comment here. The body's influence, which may last for some time in the spirits of a child, may also be noted in the spirit of those who have died insane. The spirit itself is not insane, but we know that some spirits continue to believe for a while that they are still incarnated. Thus, it is no wonder that the spirit of an insane individual may still feel the impediment that had hindered its free manifestation during life, until it has been completely freed. This effect varies according to the causes of the insanity, because there are insane persons who immediately recover their lucidity after death. So it's interesting to see. The physical body, of course, has an impact, a limiting effect on the spirit during incarnation. So it creates this limitation for us. And sometimes, even when we free ourselves from the physical body through death, we still carry those impressions. So the spirit is, and this is, you know, I wouldn't say it is valid for, you know, evolved spirits, because evolved spirits, they immediately recover. They already have this ability. But some people, they still carry in the spiritual world the limitations that the physical body imposed on them, almost as if they were conditioned to death, even without having that. It's like someone who, you know, broke the arm and had a plaster, you know, and hold the arm next to the chest for a long time. And if after, you know, removing everything, fully recovered, doing physiotherapy, the person may find him or herself still holding the arm, you know, close to the chest. It is a condition. And we see that in spirits who return to the spiritual worlds and carry the limitation of childhood, where the physical body is not yet in full condition to allow the spirit to manifest in its, you know, full capability, considering the situation of, you know, the physical world, full capability for a physical body that is sound, that is perfect. So the child is still developing that, and we know that. And also people who, you know, are called insane in this case, you know, borrowing the example that has been brought here by Kardec. This is a condition that we may take with us in the spiritual world, but there's no need for that. And I just want to say that it is very important sometimes when in a mediumship group that we receive these spirits to make them aware of the new situation, the new condition. And it's part of a therapy, as it were, to help them recover more easily in the spiritual world, whatever their condition, a disease, you know, being a child, insane as such. So it is one of the tasks that spiritist mediumship group should do during, you know, the mediumship work. Hi, Jackie.
Okay.
Hi.
Could you? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't
Oh,
hear.
Jackie first.
It might have been covered, but I'm
Yeah.
struggling to get my head around.
Okay.
I understand the need, the importance of evocation meetings, with all the work that Kardec's done, and we've seen Heaven and Hell, and it's incredibly informative for us. But as you've described several times, and Charles and everyone, the importance and the functionality of a mediumship meeting to support and help, is evocation meetings still things that happen today? Is it things that we mediums, I struggle to understand the place of it
Yeah.
from my very limited knowledge and understanding of
No.
the other side of support. And I don't know if this is the right question to ask, but
Yeah.
throughout this whole chapter, keeps coming up every week for me
Yeah.
because I struggle to understand.
It
Sorry.
is a very important question, Jackie, because many people say, why don't we work in this way nowadays? Yes, we can set up a group to do the type of work that Kardec was doing, which was basically building up knowledge. So the books were written based on messages that we received all around the world. They were gathered, but there was the need actually to, make sense of all this information, to put them together. And so these meetings, evoking spirits, wasn't just, for amusement, or they had a meaning, and it was actually, as we see, for instance, in the book Heaven and Hell, why would they evoke a spirit during the funeral? What was their intention? Amusement, curiosity? No, they had a serious purpose for that, which was actually to bring us information to know what happens. How is this guy going to find himself in the spiritual world? And so that was important. Can we have nowadays a group, to do that? Yeah, if it's a serious group, why not? But the type of work that is more necessary nowadays is actually to be open to receiving spirits who are so many spirits suffering when they return to the spirit world. So we already have enough knowledge to help us at this moment, perhaps in the future, or some specific groups that are working with specific aspects to gather more knowledge to bring to us. They will do that type of work, evoke certain spirits to ask some questions and then have the answers. But it's like you just choosing who you want to attend, whereas in the emergency unit you have queues of people suffering so much. So you already have enough knowledge to start providing them some assistance. Why would you spend too much time in order doing some other work if that is so urgent? That's how I see it. I don't know if Charles wants to add something, his perception of the subject.
Yes, Munir, and from time to time the spirits, they tell us, yes, we will come back to this type of work, but first you have to clean up a little bit the environment, and it may take still some time, considering the confusion which is still reigning on our planet right now.
And
Yeah.
there's so much to learn still.
Yeah.
I feel it's personal to me, but there's so much to learn still. Anyway, that's a personal.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So why to provide more at this point, as Charles said, if we are still not capable of fully understanding what we already have here. So yeah. Good. Thanks, Charles. Thanks, Jack, for the question. And Liz?
Yeah, just helping with Jackie's question as well. I think we've got to remember that it was Allan Kardec's task, his mission for his particular incarnation that time, to collate all this information as a foundation for everyone on all the possible questions that, you know, humanity would have, and to instruct and teach us, you know, this very, very essential knowledge. And I can never be, you know, I think that's amazing, the breadth and depth of the questions that he did and he managed to do and cover in such a short space of time, because he didn't actually start this until the latter part of his life either. So I do feel that the spirits themselves were helping suggest the questions that humanity needed, because there's no way, I can't find fault with any of these questions. Yeah, there's some updates may be needed at a later date, but they're timeless, just like spirits, timeless. Yeah. So incredible. And yeah, that allows us not to have to worry about finding information, instead spending our energies better helping other people that need help, the, you know, the spirits that need help. My initial question was going back to the question we just covered about people who pass over, say that they are, you know, just say they're insane. And of course, insane could mean that they have obsessions, they have spiritual attachment. I was hoping that Munir, you would be able to explain what happens when people die and they've got these attachments with them, they've got these obsessions. Does that continue into the afterworld? And, you know,
It may.
I think we know it does.
It may,
Yeah.
it may. Sometimes it started before the incarnation. One of them incarnates and the other one is there. And, you know, it is a process that one incarnation may not be sufficient to, you know, resolve, to sort it out. But in some cases, well, we may, you know, he may end it there. In, you know, if that particular group had, you know, the opportunity to go through this obsession work, and, you know, they reached the results during that incarnation. Okay, yeah, they are basically free. You know, the spirits involved will go, each one of them their own way, and will be assisted and helped in according to the particular needs of them. But some of them may continue. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, it's the other way around. The one that was in the spirit world incarnates, and the other one that was incarnated, you know, stays there. So, you know, we don't know. There are some processes that are so complex, you know, and they take a long time to be sorted out. I wouldn't say it's the general rule, but yeah, you know, these are cases that come from previous incarnations. They, you know, they have deep roots. So we shouldn't expect to, you know, end them in one or two meetings, and, you know, or perhaps even in one incarnation. But yeah, it can happen. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much indeed. It's been productive. Next week we start with the evocation of animals. I think you're all very curious. If you are too curious, I would advise, please read in advance. It's a hot topic as well. So I'll leave it for next week. And let me just stop sharing here. I'll stop recording as well. So thank you very much indeed.